Next, we would like to welcome school number 41 from Novuoulrask, Russia.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Milana.
My name is Nastya.
I'm Igor. Thank you. I'm Igor. We're from Gymnasium 41Novuoulrask, Russia.
Our presentation is done to fully understand the current global nuclear status, to present background information, to focus on nuclear weapons challenges, and discourse different perspectives towards banning nuclear weapons. We have been living in the nuclear age now for over half a century. One of the global problems for today, which is directly influencing survival of human civilization, is disarmament. Achieving nuclear disarmament is a tremendously difficult challenge. A number of treaties have been established to prevent nuclear proliferation and testing, thus promoting progress in nuclear disarmament. Former participants of the CIF Conference talk about the danger of nuclear weapons.
It's common knowledge that the problem of nuclear weapons is a really important issue nowadays. Nuclear weapons and the use of nuclear weapons have an extremely bad impact on people's health and environment. The first in history, and I hope the last, atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki showed us the horror and cruelty of nuclear war. Thousands of people perished instantly, thousands died from radiation sickness, and thousands suffered from cancer years later. I was lucky to visit Hiroshima and Nagasaki and to visit atomic bombing museums, to talk with hibakushas. Now I know the horror of nuclear war. I witnessed its results myself.
It's fully recognized that the consequences of the nuclear weapons use as well as the nuclear tests are incredibly damaging to people and the environment. 2 bombings in August 1945 killed at least 129,000 people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The use of nuclear weapons resulted in increased levels of leukemia and cancers among atomic bomb survivors over a period of 70 years. In fact, it will never be known how many people have been affected by nuclear testing. But scientists estimate that up to 2.4 million people will die as a result of cancers induced by the fallout of nuclear testing. The longer we keep nuclear weapons, the more probable the chance of its use. Time has come to protect humanity from the catastrophic humanitarian consequences.
The new treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons, also known as Ban Treaty, offers a powerful alternative to a world in which threats of nuclear weapons are allowed to prevail.
Milana, what is the role of citations and quotes in our presentation?
The citations or quotes we have chosen for our presentation symbolize the stage of the situation development in the sphere of nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation. Every next quote will lead to the understanding how the global public opinion was being formed, and finally, how the course of events gave impetus to the adoption of nuclear weapon ban treaty.
Strength and grow come only through continuous effort and struggle. The 1968 Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty is considered a landmark international treaty. The non-proliferation norm established by the NPT, the long-term efforts by the states, International Atomic Energy Agency, And the international inspection system developed under the NPT created a world in which only 9 states have nuclear weapons capabilities nowadays.
Unfortunately, the Non-Proliferation Treaty has not prevented the nuclear states from investing heavily in nuclear weapons in recent years. All of the NPT-5 continue to modernize their nuclear arsenals. Different worldwide conflicts persist that speaks about regress in a situation with disarmament. In most cases, there has been disregard for international humanitarian law. Since the 2010 review conference of the NPT, the nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation agenda was refocused on the humanitarian impact of and the risks associated with nuclear weapons. The final document of the conference expressed deep concern at the catastrophic humanitarian consequences of any use of nuclear weapons and called for compliance with international humanitarian law. We are going to describe the stages of the situation development fit together. The struggle of the international community to eliminate nuclear weapons was not a wasted effort. The issue of the humanitarian impact of the nuclear weapons served as a basis of the ban treaty.
Is success a pathway to solution?
Every success won is a motivation to another. The result of humanitarian initiatives on nuclear weapons was the organization of 3 conferences on humanitarian impact of nuclear weapons in Oslo, Norway, Nayarit, Mexico, and Vienna, Austria, which produced the humanitarian pledge supported by 127 states. It recalled legal gap for the prohibition and elimination of nuclear weapons. Unlike the other weapons of mass destruction, chemical and biological, nuclear weapons are not yet prohibited by an international legal treaty.
The leading role in the humanitarian initiative undoubtedly belongs to the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons. Its goal is to mobilize people in their efforts to persuade and pressure their governments to negotiate for a treaty banning nuclear weapons. The 2015 NPT Review Conference was unsuccessful. The conference showed considerable disagreement between nuclear weapon states and non-nuclear weapon states. States possessing nuclear weapons did not reject nuclear weapons and regarded them as means of pursuing national security. But even after the failure of the conference and disappointment of the society with lack of progress under the NPT, ICANN encouraged states to take further steps towards disarmament. In December 2016, due to ICANN effort, the UN General Assembly adopted a landmark resolution to launch negotiations, legally binding instrument to prohibit nuclear weapons. ICANN worked heavily with governments to achieve the most effective treaty possible. Success. Achieving success takes time and, most importantly, effort. All the organizations and public societies involved did their best to change the situation. It was a success.
Are there any circumstances favorable to advance the ban treaty?
Turn obstacles into opportunities and problems into possibilities.
In 2017, the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. ICANN gave a new impetus to the efforts to achieve the goal on nuclear disarmament and nuclear weapon-free world. ICANN diligent work led to the unity of the nations in supporting the humanitarian pledge and gave innovative support for the UN negotiations on a treaty banning nuclear weapons. The contribution of ICANN to consolidation the anti-nuclear movement and push for a treaty filling the legal gap is absolutely notable. On the 7th of July in 2017, 122 of the UN member states adopted the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. The ban treaty emerges against a prolonged and hostile disagreement among states that rely on nuclear weapons for deterrence and those that do not. The principal source of struggle is the perceived lack of progress on nuclear disarmament of the states that possess nuclear arms.
It prohibits nations from doing actions to use nuclear weapons. Nations are obliged to provide assistance of all victims of the use and testing nuclear weapons. The Ban Treaty fills a significant gap of the prohibition and elimination of nuclear weapons in international law. The nuclear weapon state may join the treaty if it agrees to destroy them in accordance time-bound plan. A nation that hosts another nation's nuclear weapons on its territory may join if it agrees to remove them by a given deadline. So far, the treaty has been adopted by 122 states, but signed by 57 countries, and 5 of them ratified the treaty. At the moment, 7 countries ratified the treaty. The Ban Treaty remains open indefinitely. Opportunity. This stage suggests the proper time for attainment the goal. What are the differences that cause difficulties? It is tension of opposites.
Governments' positions on the treaty. What are they? Official nuclear weapon states have displayed negative reaction to the Ban Treaty. All of them rejected the Ban Treaty. States that depend on extended nuclear deterrence, members of NATO, Japan, North Korea, and some others, hold the same position as the international situation is tense. Non-nuclear weapon states' attitude toward the BT was different. In fact, some of them initially supported the Ban Treaty, but later expressed their hesitation during the TPNW negotiations. Smaller states in Africa, Latin America, and partly in Asia have experienced a lot of smaller-scale wars. It defined their position toward the elimination of nuclear weapons. They have a strong wish to remove at least one powerful weapon from global arsenals. These countries quite clearly understand the issue that nuclear weapons should be banned.
Some non-nuclear weapon states, including those in nuclear weapon-free zones, and non-governmental organizations believed that nuclear weapons are so terrible that they should be eliminated. Nuclear weapon states and some of their allies, members of NATO, believed that nuclear weapons are so terrible that they make war unthinkable. In September 2017, the alliance confirmed that nuclear defense is a fundamental part of NATO strategy. So there is no need to eliminate nuclear weapons. Same assessment, but opposite conclusions. Tension. This is the next area we'd like to focus on. Who leads the world in the right direction and who in the wrong one? To fight or to stop?
When faced with a challenge, look for a way, not a way out. What are the challenges to the Ban Treaty? Tensions in the world continue to grow. North Korea has acquired and tested nuclear weapons. The West and Russia demonstrate hostility towards each other. The West or United States is constantly imposing sanctions on Russia, Iran, and North Korea. Recently, the role of advanced conventional weapons has increased. Finally, the nuclear weapon state continue to modernize their nuclear arsenals.
Giving his annual State on the Nation speech on the 1st of March, the Russian President Vladimir Putin stated that Russia has developed a new array of nuclear weapons that are invincible and can breach NATO's missiles defenses. Putin bigged up Russia's new nuclear cruise missiles, which are currently being tested. Putin's statement was made on the back of the US President Donald Trump claim last month that says, "If Russia does not stop modernizing its nuclear force, we are going to be so far ahead of everybody else in nuclear like we've never seen before." Two countries increase the risk of nuclear use. Challenge. The BT is coming across countless obstacles, and we realized that all problems require the great effort and determination. Do we have any grounds for believing that something good may happen?
Everything that is done in this world is done by hope.
Though at present the ban treaty is considered to be the most practical, feasible and effective means for elimination of nuclear weapons, reading the word of nuclear weapons will take courage and time. The nuclear weapons The nuclear armed and allied states oppose the treaty and none are likely to join. As such, they will not be directly affected by it. However, the new treaty could also impact on the policies and practices of the nuclear armed states and their allies. We will consider two key possible ways. Firstly, by challenging nuclear weapons divestment action by states parties to the banned treaty, and also by cities, religious institutions, and civil society around the world. Secondly, by putting political pressure on the nuclear armed and allied states. Special focus is given to nuclear weapons divestment. The Nuclear Prohibition Treaty could impact on the nuclear weapons policies if it results in divestment by states parties to the treaty of The Nuclear Prohibition Treaty could also impact on the nuclear weapons policies if it results in divestment by states parties to the treaty from corporations manufacturing nuclear weapons and their delivery systems. These corporations, there are about 20 of them globally, are a major driver of nuclear arms race. Annual budgets to nuclear weapons by the 9 nuclear armed states is over $100 billion.
Countries during the ban treaty could take a decision to prohibit investments in nuclear weapons corporations. This solution could expose unacceptable corporate practice according to society rules. The BT does not directly prohibit such investments. Nevertheless, states parties to the treaty agree not to assist, encourage, or induce in any way anyone to engage in any activity prohibited to a state party under this treaty. This can be interpreted as a prohibiting investments in nuclear weapons corporations. Some countries, Liechtenstein, New Zealand, Norway, and Switzerland, have already realized nuclear divestment policies. If they were joined by 30, 50 as they ratify the ban treaty, the influence would multiply. Hope. This stage shows things are not ideal, but let us hope for the best. Do you know?
The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Nuclear armed states and their allies have easily concluded that the ban treaty is not relevant to them and they can ignore. But it is not so easy for them to ignore the 2018 UN High-Level Conference on Nuclear Disarmament. It is expected that the President or Prime Minister of the member state will participate in the conference at the highest level. Such high-level conference will deliver concrete outcomes. The conference could expand and support nuclear disarmament initiatives from bilateral negotiations, the Non-Proliferation Treaty Review Conference meetings, and the Treaty on the Prohibition on Nuclear Weapons.
The beauty of the UN High-Level Conference is that it can promote all directions: non-proliferation, risk reduction, and stronger prohibition measures. High-Level Conference will draw the attention of media, activate government agencies, and provide opportunities for parliaments and public to challenge government policies. The ban treaty could be used to force on nuclear-armed and allied states to adopt nuclear risk reduction and disarmament measures by the 2018 UN High-Level Conference.
Dream. Nothing comes easy in this world. And if we really want something, then we are going to stop at nothing to make it happen, to make our dreams come true.
How close we have come to the elimination of nuclear weapons.
The world's people all share the earnest aspiration to have stability, peace, justice, and cooperation.
The 2018 UN High-Level Conference could also be an opportunity for non-nuclear countries to announce their ratifications on the treaty. If 50 ratifications are achieved by the 2018 UN High-Level Conference, then this could be the occasion to announce its entry into force.
Once again, it is necessary to point out the role of civil society, international non-governmental organizations, unions and communities that are engaged in nuclear risk reduction, non-proliferation and disarmament. They diligently try to advance these initiatives in their own countries and all over the world. They hold side events, meet with government delegations and send messages to their governments, encouraging them to take action to prohibit nuclear weapons.
The issue of the nuclear weapons elimination has not solved yet, but the treaty, signed by 122 countries, expresses the international community's attitude towards nuclear weapons and affirms nuclear weapons prohibition as a moral imperative. The idea of the ban treaty and the humanitarian consequences movement from which it was born has already generated real normative momentum and will continue to do so.
Aspiration. We placed all components and collected all of them together. Now the image is complete. Let us hope that the current period of tension will come to an end. Countries will be engaged in a constructive dialogue, and world society will not miss the opportunity to make nuclear disarmament feasible. A window of opportunity to ban nuclear weapons is open.
Thank you for your attention. This picture is complete, and we can present it to Moscow. We are open to your questions.
Hi. You talked about nuclear divestment initiatives, and I wonder if you know of such efforts that are already beginning in any country or internationally?
We don't know about these efforts,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you
you very much.